Hi, everyone. Welcome in. Just give it one more minute while folks are joining, coming out of the waiting room. Welcome in, welcome in. All right, looks like most folks are able to join. Hi, everyone. My name is Monica. I work on the partnerships team here at Pavilion. We're excited to welcome you to our February Purchasing Power Hour, where we'll be talking about communicating the benefits of cooperative purchasing to stakeholders. To get us started today, we're going to do a round of icebreaker questions. So feel free to pull out your phone or open up another tab on your computer. Our first question here is, in one word, what do you see as the benefit of using cooperative or shareable contracts? So if you go to your phone, you can scan this QR code here at the top of the screen. You can type in pollev.com/MonicaD858 and start typing in your answers, and they'll start to populate it in a little word cloud here. So answer the questions on pollev.com/MonicaD858 or scan the QR code at the top of your screen. Awesome. We've got our first time, money. Yes, save time and money. Pricing, volume. Nice. Fantastic. Yeah, it looks like a lot of our answers here are around saving time. It's convenient. Nice. Faster. Yeah, absolutely. Happy. We do love happy. We love happy as well. That is a great plus to using cooperative and shareable contracts. Looks like time is really saving time and saving money are really popping to the top. I'll give it one more minute, throw in your final answers, and then we'll hop over. We've got a couple more questions. Awesome. Nice work. Our second question here. Has your team analyzed your entity's internal resourcing costs to run a new solicitation? So when you're looking to run a new solicitation, have you considered the time or resources required to run that solicitation? Looks like we're pretty split so far. Yes, no, unsure. Yeah. No seems to be pulling ahead a little bit. Awesome. Great. I'll give it about one more minute. Keep on answering here. You can select yes, no, or unsure as to whether your team has analyzed your entity's internal resourcing costs to run a new solicitation. Gotcha. Looks like no's pulling ahead. About a little less than half of folks say no, about a third of folks say yes, and about a third of us are unsure if our entity has looked into that. Great. Thank you for your answers. And then a last question, icebreaker question here before we get into the meat of our presentation today. If your team's procurement habits were a reality TV show, what would they be called? The options are A, keeping up with the contracts. You can respond with, if you're joining by text, you can respond with just the letter. Keeping up with the contracts. You've got a million contracts buzzing around trying to keep up with everything. The amazing procurement race. You're maybe on a little relay race with your team, passing things back and forth. Option C is Survivor Budget Edition. I think that one explains itself, and I'm sure that's something that we all kind of resonate with. And then D, the Great Contract Bake Off. You've got a million things baking at the same time, trying to keep all the balls up in the air. Keeping Up with the Contracts and Survivor Budget Edition seem to be our two favorites so far. This is great. Amazing. I'll give it about 15 more seconds if you'd like to throw in your answer. Looks like we're tied for Keeping Up with the Contracts and Survivor Budget Edition, which I think both of those sound pretty accurate for a lot of folks. Fantastic. All right, well, thanks so much for joining and for kicking us off with those icebreaker questions. We'll hop into the meat of things today. Our agenda for today's presentation, we'll do some welcome and introductions. We've got a fantastic speaker coming up in a little bit. Christy Garcia, the procurement administrator for the city of Mesa, is with us. I'll give a little overview of Pavilion first and show you our cost to procure calculator. And then we'll actually, at the end of today's chat, be breaking out into breakout rooms. And so you'll have the option to jump over to a Zoom meeting, get to chat with each other, network a bit, and talk about the things that we learned today in our presentation. So a little bit of background about Pavilion. Why are we here? Why are we hosting today's conversation? Pavilion is a platform that allows you to search through over 100,000 shareable contracts. We have over 400 contract sources from local agencies, states, national co-ops, regional co-ops, and we put them all in one place. Think Google for shareable contracts. And this allows you to find the contract that you're looking for quickly, expedite due diligence by parsing through that contract and making sure that it meets the requirements and qualifications that you need, and then easily connect with suppliers. Our average users say that they save around 5 or 6 hours per month, and everything that we offer for our public entity partners is completely free. So why leverage cooperatives? A typical competitive solicitation process can take anywhere from 4 to 24 months. And we want to take that time from, months or even years down to days and weeks with cooperative procurement. So cooperative procurement allows you to leverage a number of different contracts from different agencies in your area, either through national co-ops, regional co-ops, but people often overlook states and other local agencies that have included cooperative language in their contracts. On Pavilion, you can see the types of contracts that are available on our search engine on the left here. So at the top in that large blue bar, we've got national co-ops, and then below that in the green bar is local entities. And you can see that both of those are about 30% of the available contracts on Pavilion. The light purple bar in the middle of that left graph are state contracts. And then as you see on this line graph on the right, the contract views on Pavilion, you can see that national co-op contracts views continue to go up just as local contract views continue to go up. So we can see that leveraging national co-ops and local co-ops is becoming increasingly popular. So in order to quantify solicitation costs, we need to understand what really matters. So the first question you ask when you go in to run a new solicitation and you're considering, should I run a new solicitation or should I use a cooperative contract? We need to kind of consider what we want to do to make sure that we're delivering the best impact to our communities, to our end users, to our stakeholders, creating a great customer experience for our end users, and making sure that folks can get things on time and within a reasonable cost and a reasonable time frame. So given staffing shortages, where should we focus our time? Should we run that new solicitation, or is there an existing cooperative contract that we could leverage? And then how can you show your team's impact or justify those purchasing decisions? Why are you using that co-op versus running a new solicitation? So again, as we consider what does it actually take to run a solicitation, there's the solicitation development. That means developing specifications, developing a statement of work, creation of a bid package, actually posting that package, and then waiting for suppliers to respond. You need to advertise the bid. You need to set up a number of meetings with stakeholders and with the suppliers who respond to the bid and make sure that you're waiting an allotted time frame to allow suppliers to respond to the bid. And then there's the evaluation and award phase of the solicitation. So receiving the solicitation responses, evaluating them, making sure that you're using stringent criteria, awarding those, and then managing the contract, and then managing the approval of the vendors and the contracts. So lots of potential delays here within this process: budgetary restraints, unanticipated project challenges, changes to the scope, lack of supplier participation, lack of responses from suppliers, protests, legal concerns. Lots of things can kind of hinder the process as you're running that new solicitation. So when we look at all of that, we've done some research, and NCPP has done some research to show us what does the average time spent actually look like. And as you can see on this pie chart here, we can see that the average solicitation time spent is about 87 hours of personnel time to run a solicitation. About half of that goes in those initial stages in publication, and then about a third of that is in the open solicitation process, and then about a sixth lands in the negotiation and award phase of those 87 hours. As you can see on the right, a complex project could take even more time, up to about 140 hours on average, whereas less complex projects may take about 43 hours on average, but still quite a bit of staff time. When we're thinking a 40-hour work week, that's at least a full week of your staff's time to run that solicitation, just one solicitation. So alongside NCPP, Pavilion developed something called the cost to procure calculator. And this calculator is available on our website. Someone will post the link to this calculator in the chat. And you can click into that, which we'll do in just a moment here. And it allows you to estimate the cost of purchasing through a new bid or RFP versus leveraging a cooperative contract. So as I mentioned a few slides ago, there are lots of hindrances or issues that you can run into throughout the solicitation process. And you can kind of use this tool as a resource to calculate the administrative costs, time savings, expectations of leveraging national cost averages for RFP tracking reporting. And then you're also able to track cost savings over time for your entity's purchases. Great, so I'm going to swap over to another tab here and actually demo our cost to procure calculator. And then you'll be able to go in and use this whenever you'd like. It's just at Pavilion, with pavilion.com/calculator. So if I pop over here to my other tab, you can see this is what the cost to procure calculator actually looks like. So if I come in here and I start to fill this out and say, what am I purchasing? Maybe I'm looking to purchase office chairs. You can select a category for this purchase. I'll say commodities, and then I can estimate the purchase cost. So I'll say maybe I'm spending about $250,000 on a whole new set of office chairs for an entire building or whatever it might be. Here you can select if you'll need approval from senior management or elected official. Saying yes may indicate that the purchase requirements are a little bit more complex. Saying no, maybe you don't need approval from senior management or elected officials, might mean that it's slightly less complex. As we scroll down here, we can see the staff time required is automatically filled out with the averages that were figured out during that NCPP report. And you can type in here the average time. Say I expect to spend about 80 hours on this bid, and then the average expected staff time for piggybacking across teams. Maybe we expect to spend about 7 hours searching for and finding a cooperative contract to use, and then filling out the necessary paperwork. So as we continue to scroll down here, there's an option to select discounts or markups. Maybe you expect a discount from running a solicitation, or maybe you expect a markup for piggybacking or running a solicitation. So here I can say, maybe I expect about a 10% discount if I'm going to go through a cooperative, because there are some bulk discounts that may apply when I'm looking at a specific contract. So I'll fill that out here. And then we can scroll down, and then you can input the staff salary estimate. So if you know the average salary for your team, you could input this here. You could use the salary estimates for that the NCPP has added here, or type something in. So maybe I say it's about 70,000 per year for my average staff salary time. So if I come over here, I click update estimate, and this will run this for me. So as you can see, my estimated solicitation cost, or cost to run a full solicitation, is about $250,000 for the cost of the item, plus about $3,000 of staff time. And then below, we can see the estimated piggyback cost, about $225,000, with the estimated staff cost time down to $274. So we can see that our estimated staff time cost savings is about $3,000, or 91%, compared to running a solicitation. So that's just one way to use the cost to procure calculator to understand, the difference between the costs for running a solicitation versus leveraging a co-op. I'll hop back over to our presentation here. Up next, we have Christy Garcia, the procurement administrator and head of SAVE for the city of Mesa, who's going to join us and talk about her experience leveraging co-ops. Christy, nice to see you.
Hi, everybody.
Fantastic. I'm going to stop my screen share here so it's just us chatting. Great. So Christy, thanks for joining us. I know you have a lot of experience leveraging co-ops in your work. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and what brought you to procurement?
Let's see. I started in public procurement 20 some years ago. I transitioned from public to private. Got a job at a city and got a job as a procurement specialist, and slowly worked my way up and moved over to the city of Mesa a little over 10 years ago. I have been, let's see, in my current position almost 3 years, but as part of my involvement with city government and having mentors and getting involved in our local NIGP chapter, I volunteered, I got involved, and as part of being that volunteer, also got the volunteer duty of being membership chair for our SAVE consortium is what we call it. So yeah, my public procurement 20 some years, and as part of, do you want me to keep talking, or are you going to ask me other questions? Okay.
Yeah, no, go ahead. No, I love hearing about it. I think public procurement, not a lot of folks wake up one day when they're 10 years old and they're like, I want to be an astronaut. And then their sister says, I want to be a public procurement professional. So it's always great to hear about, folks' pathways, what drew them to this field, and what keeps you interested in it.
As far as me, I mean, I specifically, I know a lot of us when we talk about how we kind of fell into procurement.
Mhm.
I didn't fall into procurement. I specifically chose procurement, supply chain management as, my degree, my profession. And yeah, I have just slowly, worked my way up from there
Yeah,
with that knowledge and education.
that's great. What would you say is your favorite thing about procurement? Like what brought that initial interest for you?
Well, honestly, my initial interest, it came from my dad. He was in procurement, and he would always talk to me and tell me stories about procurement. And then living in Arizona, ASU, Arizona State University, which is where I was planning to go anyways. They were one of the very few, probably one of the only universities at the time that offered supply chain management as a degree. So with my dad's, influence and my thought that, not very many people are going to have a degree in supply chain. Let's get into that field, where there's
Yeah.
less people. That was 20 years ago. It's different now. But yeah, that's how I got involved in procurement, and with mentors and volunteering. That's what has helped me,
That's great.
advance in my career and get to where I'm at today.
Yeah, that's great. I love to hear that you had an initial interest in it and it was something that you had been looking to do. I don't think
Mhm.
that's a common thread. I think a lot of folks, as you said, fall into procurement. But there is something so fun about, finding the right contract, matching, buyers and suppliers together and finding what you need and actually getting to see that out in the city when you're walking around being like, oh, I know I worked on that contract.
Yes, and just
All of
helping
that.
departments and citizens
Hmm.
and businesses within our city, and
Yeah.
provide them with the services and materials that they need to do their job.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned as part of your work, you head up SAVE, which is the Strategic Alliance for Volume Expenditures in Arizona. Can you tell us a little bit about that part of your work?
Yes, so the state of Arizona, and this was created probably 30 plus years ago by some of, our procurement leaders that were at the state and other municipalities. They formed our own cooperative. Um, we call it a consortium because it's basically just a membership of all of Arizona governmental agencies, school districts, cities, counties that belong to SAVE, which just allows us, as part of our solicitations and our agreements, we have that SAVE cooperative language and our standard terms and conditions. So any solicitation that any of us awards, that allows other member agencies to utilize our contracts as well. So they can piggyback off of our contracts. The initial intent of SAVE was to get all of the cities and agencies collaborating up front
Hmm.
to be like the lead agency for, common goods and supplies that all, cities or agencies use. So the initial intent was that volume expenditure and doing that one solicitation that all can utilize.
Mhm.
It's developed into more of do your own solicitation and we'll utilize it if we can type of thing. It's a
Yeah.
combination of both now. So it's been a great, additional co-op for us Arizona agencies to be able to use other agencies, solicitations, and we can
Mhm.
collaborate up front and doing one. If we need to, we meet quarterly to talk about any upfront, solicitations that any agency might be doing. But so to backtrack, so SAVE is part of the whole program, and us volunteering to manage the SAVE membership. Originally, it was we just had an email listserv where we would just, we would collect everybody's emails, and when
Mhm.
we had a question or needed help with something, we would send out an email.
Yeah.
But, it's like, the emails were, can you send me this contract? Does anybody have this contract? And there was no history capturing any of that conversation.
Mhm.
So we eventually worked to where we created a City of Mesa, like a SharePoint site. We have a
Mhm.
SharePoint site that is specifically for SAVE. And it was originally developed to be a self-service website. So all the agencies that had SAVE cooperative contracts, it was their responsibility to go to this website, upload their contracts, provide all their information on an Excel spreadsheet. That way, everybody had access in one location to obtain those SAVE contracts versus emailing back and forth.
Mhm.
But the problem with that is it's a self-service website and not all the agencies are uploading their information. They
Mhm.
don't have time, you have to maintain it, and some agencies are doing it, most agencies are not. We
Yeah.
also created like a discussion board as part of the
Yeah.
site, which has been very helpful. So
Mhm.
our problem is, people were not uploading their contracts. So versus the emailing, when you guys came around and we had those discussions and we started networking with each other, it was like,
Mhm.
how can we make it where there's a one-stop shop where they can actually access these contracts without having to email each other, without
Mhm.
having to, without having the agencies needing to upload the information themselves. So that's where
Yeah.
Pavilion came around and, was a lifesaver in the fact that they have created, well, they already had the search tool, but they
Yeah.
created this search tool specifically for SAVE and our website. So all of our agencies can just go to the SAVE website and search for any SAVE cooperative contract that they're
Yeah.
looking for versus having to email and not being
Mhm.
able to find it because the entity hasn't uploaded it. So
Yeah.
having that tool for our SAVE agencies has been amazing. It's cut down on a lot of my administrative, duties and
Yeah.
outreach. So, and
That's
then,
That's great to hear. I'm glad to hear that folks are leveraging Save and you're able to access these contracts more easily. Have what have you seen as kind of the benefits of leveraging co-ops in your work at the City of Mesa, and then also through this, ability to connect with other entities around the state through Save? What do you see as the benefits to the city, and how do you communicate those benefits to council or to folks that you report into?
well, for us, as just part of our city policy, we have what we call procurement bulletins, which are basically just step-by-step instructions on what to do in certain situations. So, we
Mhm.
have a procurement bulletin specifically on co-ops and the due diligence and the research that you need to do before utilizing any of those cooperative contracts. So we, make our end users and our departments do that due diligence when researching cooperative contracts. So we have also made to our end users available that Pavilion search tool on our SharePoint site. And we
Mhm.
have trained our department end users on, go to our website. This is where you can search for any cooperative contracts. You can get quotes because since we have increased our thresholds, more responsibility has landed in our department's lap as
Mhm.
far as getting the tree quotes and doing that stuff. So it's been a great resource for our end users and, obtaining those 3 quotes, finding what co-op contracts are available and helping them do that due diligence. So when they
Yeah.
submit the information to us. So communicating that to our stakeholders and showing them that benefit has been very easy because you show it and, it speaks for itself as far as the benefits that it provides, the time that it saves.
Yeah. It sounds
Having,
like there's some time savings for your end users in addition to the time
Right.
savings for your procurement team as well.
right, because before, it would be like going to every individual site, going to Omnia, going to Sourcewell, going to, all these different cooperative sites and searching what contracts they had available. Now you can go to Pavilion and all of those contracts from all those cooperatives are there in one
Mhm.
place. So it
Yeah.
saves a lot of time. It has, cut down on just the time that it takes to, do a solicitation, like you said,
Yeah.
when we utilize co-op contracts, we have to show that due diligence or that justification as why are we using a co-op versus doing our own solicitation.
Yeah.
Your calculator tool will help in that justification and, just relaying that information to our end users, helps them. And it's just been a great tool to help them get those quotes and contact vendors and just have
Yeah.
a one-stop shop for accessing all those different cooperative contracts that are available out there. Because there's a lot, as we all know.
Yeah, there certainly are a lot. What advice would you give to say you were in a different jurisdiction, maybe in a different state that was, not as historically friendly to cooperatives as I would say Arizona and Mesa are? What would your advice be to a budding, director of procurement who really wants to leverage co-ops? Maybe new legislation allows them to. How would you, how would you inform them or encourage them to go to, their directors of finance or their city managers or whoever and say like, hey, I want to start using more co-ops. What advice would you give to them?
Well, my advice would just be, to do the research, put together some type of policy in place for your end users to follow when utilizing cooperative contracts. We have our end users provide that documentation and that justification. Why are you utilizing a cooperative contract and why are you using this one versus this one? So I think having those policies and procedures in place on the use of cooperative contracts is important just to provide, upper management and council with the information that, yes, we have done our due diligence. Yes, this is what we expect of our end users to justify that this co-op contract is in the best interest of the city versus doing our own. And just being able to provide that information to support, that. And then just providing examples of time savings. We use cooperative contracts. Our fleet department uses them a lot for purchases of one vehicle or one dump truck or one, doing a solicitation for one car, it's a lot. So being
Yeah.
able to utilize those cooperative contracts to save that time and then just the volume, if we're only wanting one vehicle, but that national cooperative has, the pricing to support, 1,000 vehicles because of the nationwide spend, just providing that comparison and that due diligence. And I think just over time, showing the benefits of using those co-op contracts and having it in your policy and your rules for that use will help in being able to utilize those cooperative contracts and providing those specific examples where they do work well. It's not always about, saving time or getting something out quicker. It's, that contract is written much better than I could put together, or, the specs are so complicated for one piece of equipment. Why should I reinvent the wheel when it's already provided to me?
Yeah.
So I think just, going through that practice, showing management that we have policies and procedures and rules in place that govern the use of cooperative contracts and that we document it and show our due diligence, it goes on in supporting that use of cooperatives.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like it's very nuanced. So you kind of have to, know what you're looking for, know why you're looking for it, and then be able to justify that. Any recommendations that you have for encouraging regional collaboration? And as we come here, we've got a couple more questions left, and then if anyone has questions, please pop them in the chat or in the Q&A. But any advice you would give to foster regional collaboration efforts like SAVE in other areas that it may not already exist in?
Well, I think it's just, having the leadership within your state to get it done. Back when they created this 30 some years ago, it was our state procurement officer. So, that state representative was very influential. And I think just getting that buy-in, I mean, it's very simple from our standpoint. We have a 2-page membership agreement. And other than that, there's nothing left else to it. An agency that wants to join, all they have to do is, get their governing board or whoever sign that agreement and get it approved by their approvers and their SAVE members. Of course they have to provide, the language and their standard terms and conditions, but we do meet quarterly to talk about, upfront collaboration, like office supplies. We all utilize office supplies. So
Yeah.
City of Mesa as the SAVE agency is going to be that lead agency for that SAVE cooperative contract for all agencies to utilize. I mean, I know I do get, since we are on Pavilion, I have received many emails from individuals in other states saying, hey, can we use your cooperative contract? And, I tell them the membership is for SAVE members only, but I know there have been some agencies with the blessing of their legal department and their governing body that will allow them to use that SAVE cooperative contract, assuming the vendor will allow it as well. So
Yeah.
other states, I know Texas has their own consortium and cooperative as far as, other regions creating their own, I don't know that I'm the expert providing that guidance, but it is possible, and that meeting with those agencies and getting that upfront collaboration and spend for those most commonly used contracts is very beneficial. And we do, like I said, meet monthly. We talk about any upfront things that are going on. What are you working on? Do you want to participate? That type of thing. So the collaboration is there, and we just meet, and you said anybody that wants to join just signs the application, and
Nice.
and we're good.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Awesome. Before we hop over, we've got about 2 more minutes left with Christy, and then we're going to hop over to a different meeting room, and you'll be able to join a breakout room, meet like-minded folks in the procurement space, and ask questions to them, discuss what we've been talking about today on our presentation. Any final questions? I see Marilyn asked, can you search Pavilion Co-op list by vendor? Yes, you can search by vendor. You just type in the vendor name. And then Carla asked, will Pavilion provide us the best co-op contract with the best value for the commodity pricing? So Pavilion allows you to search through those 100,000 plus contracts, and you'll be able to reach out to vendors, have them compare pricing, and do all of that right through Pavilion. So definitely encourage you, if you have not created a Pavilion account, to try that out. And then someone asked, Anisha asked, what is the cost? Or did we say this is free for school districts? Pavilion is completely free for all of our public entity partners. Yes. So you're not gonna run into a situation where you're asked to put in a credit card or your P card number or something like that. You're able to use Pavilion and leverage Pavilion. Thanks, folks. Any questions for Christy while we still have her on the line here? All right. Sounds like our talk was very informative, Christy, and folks are learning a lot. So we're really excited. In just a moment here, we're going to pop another meeting link into the channel. You have the opportunity to hop over to a different meeting link. We're going to pop that in the chat. Just give me one moment. Beautiful. Lucas just popped it in the chat. Everyone, go ahead, and if you would like to join our breakout room session, you can join. Awesome. You can click the Zoom meeting link and join the breakout session. Christy, thank you so much for joining us today. Your chat was incredibly informative. I think folks learned so much. and really appreciate your
Did you want
time.
me to, did you want me to hop into any of the
Yeah,
chats?
you're welcome. You're welcome to hop over to the meeting breakout rooms and join a breakout room. I'm sure
Or
folks
just
would love to
pick
ask
one,
you.
anyone?
Yeah, if you click the link that Lucas shared in the chat, everyone click that Zoom link. You'll hop over to a different Zoom meeting room, and then you'll be able to turn your camera on. You'll be able to chat with other folks. So go ahead and click that link and hop over to the other meeting room if you would like to join those breakout sessions. Awesome. I'll be on here for just a couple more minutes. Like I said, there's a Zoom meeting link in the chat that Lucas posted. Go ahead and click on that Zoom meeting link and we'll hop over to the Zoom meeting and you'll be able to join a breakout room and meet like-minded folks in procurement, get to talk about what we learned today and ask any questions. There will be Pavilion staff on the line who can answer questions for you as well. Thank you so much for joining. We'll see you in the other meeting room. Great, we've got one more minute here. We'll stay in this meeting room. Please click the meeting link that Lucas shared in the chat. I'll repost it here. Great. Go ahead and click that meeting link in the chat and join the breakout sessions if you would like. We'll see you over there. I'm going to hop over to that meeting room and our Pavilion team member will be here. If you have any questions, you can post them in the chat. Thanks, everybody.